I always tell people, it is not for the faint of heart. Everyone cannot work with middle-aged children, whether if it's the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade school setting or the 7th and 8th grade school setting. That is a really special group of children, very special, and it takes a special adult. I've seen people cry and leave campuses because they could not handle that.
I believe that. I would cry if you put me in with maybe kinder and first grade. So would they.
Well, hello, beautifuls, and welcome to another episode of The Gifted Table. I am your excited and delighted host, Dr. Melanie Harris. And today we're going to have a special treat for us educators, especially for those of us who are in that secondary world of education. Today's topic is, why does middle school matter? Right here on The Gifted Table. All right, everyone, welcome. And thank you so much for taking your seat here at the Gifted Table, for pulling up real close. Please, if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel. Be sure to share this link and give it a big thumbs up at the end, because I already know that you're going to receive some gems today at the Gifted Table. And who else to lead us, guide us, help facilitate, just have a real girls talk conversation about why middle school matters is the one and only, the beautiful Dr. LisaRose Blanchette. Welcome, sis. Welcome to the Gifted Table.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me here today.
Table folks, my table family, her and I have been in communication for several years. She's an amazing educator, still located here on the West Coast with me. She's reigning in Arizona right now. But I'm just so glad that you're here and for taking your seat here at the table, because honey, we already know you're gifted.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about something that's so close to my heart, middle school students.
So what is it about middle school that keeps drawing you back, and what draws you back to the classroom specifically?
I was a difficult child in middle school. That's when I hit my crazy stage and just kind of lost my mind. And I really enjoy helping students navigate that social emotional piece to their lives, and really mentoring and guiding students there, as well as educating them, because at that age level, they're able to start really forming some great ideas and defending those ideas, and they want to have those kinds of discussions. And that's where we can get that critical thinking really activated very well, because students are starting to see that there's more of a world beyond them. Even though it's all about them at that age, they do see the world beyond them.
It is always about them. I have to say, sometimes they are the most selfish group of children, or sometimes they feel they're the most entitled. But I love LOVE, that age range. Yeah, and that's where most of my background is, in middle school. I taught middle school. I was a middle school principal. And so I get it. But what are some of the things that you're sharing with them to either help prepare them or help them to kind of stay on the straight and narrow?
Well, I'll share with them some of the anecdotes. I mean, I grew up poor. I grew up in public housing. I know what it's like to not have certain things. There's certain trauma in my background that I don't share, but I can really empathize with a lot of my students, because my students, for the most part, come from a less well-off background. But I know that there's more out there. So I try to make sure that the students see beyond just their neighborhood or just their block. I try to bring in experiences for them that will show them that they can imagine something beyond where they are if they don't like where they are. And perhaps they do like where they are. And I want to honor that as well.
I like that. I'm so glad that you said that piece. And that's that cultural proficiency that a lot of people are lacking. Now, you and I were talking yesterday, and that's why we have this title today, people. Why middle school matters, because there are so many adults and students who really think middle school does not matter. I can just go through middle school, get whatever grades, behave however I want to behave, and I'll still go to high school no matter what. I've spent these years in elementary, got these few years in middle school, but then I'm going to go to high school and graduate. What's been your experience with that type of mindset?
Well, I've experienced that with certain people and certain parents of students. And then as we work with the students from maybe 6th grade to 8th grade, there's a shift in a lot of them. And they realize that I don't want my kid just to maybe make it into high school. I want my kiddo to make it out of high school. So I've seen that a couple of times. It's so crucial that we understand all of the development that students are experiencing in these middle school years. So it's that psychosocial development. They're really, as we know, very much about their friends, very much about rebelling against authority, any kind of authority, parental, educational, whatever it happens to be. We're steering them to become productive citizens in our society, whatever that looks like within their context, right? So we have to give them the tools to make choices. And this could be a choice or that could be a choice. What happens if you make this choice? What happens if you make that choice? Those are the kinds of things that I like my students to understand. And I can do that both within the context of education curriculum, and I can do it both within the context and in the context of working with them as human beings.
So as an educator currently in the classroom working directly, you're on the front line.
Yes.
How are you impacting students' lives right now to see the value in the middle school framework?
Well, I hope that I'm impacting them in terms of getting them to visualize that I'm working with 6th grade right now, to visualize where they are going in their education career in 7th and 8th grade first. So we have these conversations about how learning certain skills are going to support them as they move on into the rest of middle school and also into high school, college if they so desire. But then we also talk about how their skills are going to apply to their lives. How are they going to get driver's licenses? How are they going to operate a vehicle? Because it's, studying for license test and then operating a vehicle. There are lots of things that we can teach within the classroom for that. And I know my students want to learn how to drive. Most of them, I think all of them at this point, they're really very much into cars. Well, how is this going to impact you if you don't know how to read, if you cannot take that test? I mean, we see a lot of people on bicycles around the neighborhood, and why are these adults on bicycles? So maybe they can't afford a vehicle. So we're teaching them the money skills that they need so that they learn how to save and not just spend. Maybe they can't read the test. So if they can't read the test, well, we're teaching you those skills. And then we're also teaching them some health skills, because sometimes people have some substance abuse issues, right? And they will lose their license around that. So we have all of these kinds of conversations where we want to make a difference. And that's just one example of how we kind of globally look at our students.
I love that. Because you're going beyond the curriculum, basically. You're going beyond the standards. You're going into life skills.
I think we have to. I mean, what's the purpose of school? I mean, we can have that debate forever and never come to an agreement. But I think for me, the purpose is that we want students to be successful in their lives, whatever roads they want to take, be successful, become fulfilled, be able to contribute wherever you happen to be. So see that there's a bigger picture out there. Mm-hmm. So that's really what I want to do.
How would you describe the students you work with today, your current 6th graders, compared to students you may have had prior to 2020?
I would say that they are very aware of mental health. They think about, I need something to soothe me, something to calm me. So just gave, as of yesterday, just put kinetic sand in little baggies, and all my kids have kinetic sand to kind of play with and self-soothe as they're working. And the reason I did that, I had a few vials of them. I noticed one student who really was more focused, Well, he just was playing with his kinetic sand. He was able to focus on the work. So I'm the teacher who, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I'm the kind of teacher who's like, if you need to stand up, stand up. If you need to sit over here, sit over here. Whatever it is that's going to get you more focused and learning, as long as you're not distracting others, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. And I never really have had a problem with that. I think the students are very much aware of, okay, we need to learn this much and then let's take a brain break. So we do multiple brain breaks through the day. I approach with different modalities. And we've talked about metacognition in my classroom and the different levels of learning, what have you. But we talk about videos and we have some IT, so, education technology products that they use at times. I have them in pairs so that they can have conversations with each other. And we know that at this age, having conversation is paramount for the kids. So we talk about how to have conversations and we support that with sentence frames and really this is the way you have a conversation. It's not your idea, but it's your idea. What do you think about this idea? Respond to that. So I want to give them those conversation tools. And then we have small group learning. So just lots of different modalities, again, because we talk about not everybody learns best one way. So it can't all be reading. It can't all be video. It can't all be talking. You have to do multiple things, and we'll strengthen the things that aren't as strong for some of you while we support you in the areas that are.
And see, what you're talking about is strategic planning as a classroom instructor. You have to plan those things out. Sometimes they can happen organically, but if it's part of your classroom culture, if it's part of the systems you have in place, then your students, they adapt to structure. And believe it or not, the majority of them want structure. They really do.
Yes, they do.
For those who have a lot of classroom management issues, check your structure. Check what you have happening in your classroom that's consistent, ongoing, the expectation that students have, the predictability that students have. But I heard you say a couple of things, though. Okay. I heard you say that you are keeping the mental health as forward into your learning process as you are the academic. Because if I'm not mentally there, connected, because of whatever may have happened the night before or this morning before I got to school, if I haven't had breakfast or what have you, I'm going to be a different child in your classroom.
Yes.
But if you are intentionally embedding all of these little nuggets of, hey, if you don't learn it this way, here's a way we can learn. Let's collaborate. Let's get into some partners. And I'm still just blown away at teachers who do not have group talk, student talk, pair share in their classroom because they want that sense of control.
It goes back to that structure. If you structure how you're going to do things, so we talk, and as I said, I have my students in two groups. So I have rows 1 and 2 in their group together, rows 3 and 4 group together, 5 and 6 are grouped together. I have 2 students in row 7. They're partners. And then you model what the expectation is and you practice what the expectation is before you actually go into the work. And then after you do the work, you reflect on how well it worked, what went well, what needs improvement. And the students are actually really, really in tune to those kinds of things. So it's not giving up control. It's actually it's a shared control. And it's letting the students understand, oh yeah, I did this well, I could have done this better, right? So I spoke my piece well, I kept it down to a minimum amount of time, but I could have listened a little bit better or responded a little differently.
I find that's still difficult for some of our leaders to have that shared leadership, that student-centered vision, giving them voice in everything. When you see your students who transition from your grade level to 7th grade and to 8th grade, what are some of the changes that you've observed in how they are succeeding academically as well as socially?
when students are in sixth grade, they're spuds, right? they're so new to that environment that they're just kind of where do we go? What do we do?
They're still looking for recess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But they're still kind of like in that I'm a little kid, but I'm not. When they go into seventh grade, they know the expectations. I think seventh grade is probably my favorite grade because they know the expectations. They know what they have to do. They get on it. They're working hard. They're doing their thing. They know that expectation wise, in terms of their behavior, they're supposed to do certain things. They know to apologize when they're not doing the right thing, that kind of thing. When they get into eighth grade, they're getting scared, especially in the second half of the year, because they're leaving this school and then they're going on to ninth grade, bigger school, more kids they don't know. So the behaviors start to come back because they maybe don't want to go into that realm. They either are really on board with their education and their learning. They take a lot of ownership for their learning at this point. But in the second half of the year, then they start kind of messing around because of the fear. So it's interesting to watch the different stages in transition and just enjoy each of those stages.
Oh, when they start coming back. Yeah, she was my teacher. She's your teacher.
Yep. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild to see those students as parents too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Let's talk about high school readiness. Right? The high school readiness of it. Yeah. When I was a principal, we started working with our local county and looking at our 7th and 8th grade student data, mostly our 8th grade student data, as they're becoming 8th graders and their readiness for high school, like looking at their transcripts. We would do transcript analysis and have conversations like these group conversations with students and show them how to look at their transcripts, especially students, because our school was 6th, 7th, and 8th, especially students who had been at our school site since 6th grade. They never transferred out. They never transferred in. They've only been at that school site. And so that was the norm reference number we were looking for. Students who had only been at our school site and how ready were they for high school. And it was amazing when we had those conversations with students and how you can look, like how you said at their 6th grade year, and it was one or two things. Either in 6th grade, they were just balling at their grades. I mean, just doing very well, whatever well was for them. Even if it was averaging C's, I might have a D here, but I was doing very well. Then 7th grade, something may have happened. Either the trajectory kept going up or they plateaued or sometimes they dropped. So we would have this conversation like at the beginning of 8th grade, like that first quarter, first semester. And we're like, let's look at it was after first semester. Let's look at your first semester grades. You're all of 7th grade. You're all of 6th grade. What trends are you seeing? And it was amazing when students, and we would say, okay, so this grade would equal this many credits. Are you ready? Are you academically ready for high school? Do you have the study skills and the, what I like to say, the discipline?
Yes.
The academic discipline, the study discipline to say that you're ready for high school. And for some of them, it was a gut check. For some of them, it was confirmation. And for some of them, it was like, oh, okay, I see where I need to start improving. So when we talk about getting our kiddos ready for high school, the high school readiness, what are some things that you feel right now educators need to be more intentional about when we're looking at those 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students who are about to move on to high school? What do we need to make sure we're to prepare them for that readiness for high school?
Well, I think one of the things is what you just said, is having them review their grades and look at the trends, but also sharing that with their parents. So making sure that the parents understand, and not just in like parent-teacher conferences, but actually hosting parent nights around data. Where they come, the data is explained to them, why this will impact them and how this will impact them as they're moving on through the grades and into high school. And perhaps even saying, your student might do well in this particular school or this school based on what we know and based on what your child's goals are. So that's something that we do as well, as we have some partnerships with different schools, high schools in the neighborhood, and even a little further away. And they're both some of the public schools and also some charter schools. And we know what is available and we can help guide the students towards that, because I really think that not every student, even though we would like them to have college experience, not every student wants that, right? But if we can guide them to a program that's going to support them and to help them make a living and again contribute, why not? Let's work with the students. Let's not presume that students are a monolith in any way, and make sure that we are meeting their needs and their desires too, because it has to, if they're going to go to school, they have to want to be there, and we have to hook them in with what's going to be important to them.
So what you're talking about is actually having a conversation with the children.
Conversations with children, conversations with parents, actually talking to them.
The adults shouldn't just be making the sole decisions for these children. We need to involve them in their education.
Actually having those conversations.
We need to involve the children in their education.
Go
what
figure.
Say you? What say you, madam? What say you? That's a novel idea.
I love it. Yes.
And involve their parents. What?
I know, right? And that might be a parent night, not a parent day. Oh, well,
So what you're saying is I can't schedule it just around my prep period or my work days at the school. Yeah. I need to go beyond and actually look for times that's convenient for the parents.
Sometimes we do, Go figs.
Go figure.
I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I literally just went back into the classroom the week before our winter break. I took over the 6th grade classroom from a different teacher.
Oh, wow.
So part of this is I'm making phone calls to all my parents just to introduce myself, ask them if they have any questions, that sort of thing. And the parents are very, very grateful that I'm calling and contacting them. So it's not that they're disconnected at all. It's that sometimes parents don't know how to reach out. Maybe they've had a bad experience with their schooling, so they don't want to get too involved. And I want to have that positive relationship with my parents, which is why I'm making all my phone calls to make sure that they know who I am, that I'm going to be there for the rest of the year, that these are my plans for their kiddos, that this is what I've seen already with their students, and to ask them if they have any questions and invite them to just stop in anytime they need to, because I'm not the parent. They are. I have a big role in their child's development, but I want to be the partner there. I'm not the primary developer of that child. So
they are the first teacher.
They are. So we have to really have that relationship. And it's about building relationships. It's about building relationships with families, within the community, and of course with the students.
Looking back on your nearly 4 decades of academics, let's focus on this whole middle ground, this middle area. What would you go back and tell yourself as a beginning middle school educator that you didn't know then, but that you know now to help support that middle grade learner?
I think differentiation is key. Understanding that we need to adapt our needs or adapt our curriculum and adapt our teaching so that all students have access to the curriculum. And it has nothing to do with the students. There are students, so we have to make sure that we're meeting their needs. Can't just, it's not something I can pull out of a box. I have to make sure that I tailor onto the students' needs. Yeah, I think that would be it.
I love it. Differentiate. Mm-hmm. That has a lot of things under that umbrella, but you're giving them what they need. Now, looking ahead, as you're progressing in your professional life, in your personal life, and all these things, all the things dealing with the young learners, what is it that you want and what is it that you need to be even more effective?
I want to continue to work with my English learners in particular, because again, that's where my heart lays. I would love to be able to impact policy so that here in Arizona, we're not allowed to educate in any language other than English. There are a lot of laws around how we educate our students. So to work that out, you pair an English speaker and a non-English speaker and the students who speak the same language and let them communicate, but I can't educate in another language. I think that needs to be changed to make education easier. I can understand why that policy exists on one level because we don't only have Spanish speakers, right? Chinese, Russian, Portuguese, Haitian Creole, whatever it is. So we have all of these multiple beautiful languages, right? And making sure that we are culturally competent, I think, is something that's important because as you all know, the teacher pipeline is still around 70% white, middle class, female. But our kiddos in front of us, not that. So I don't want to see any kind of white saviors coming into the classroom. I don't want to see teachers who think their culture is better or any one culture is better. I would like to see teachers who will honor the students in front of them without fetishizing in any way, without diminishing in any way, without aggrandizing it in any way. I just want to see this cultural competency. So for me, part of it will be in my policy work. Part of it will be, even though I'm in the classroom, I still do some things on the side. So I want to make sure that continues. Yeah, I part of that will be in my book that I'm writing right now. So
come on now, come on, publisher. Have you back me to get that book published?
Yeah. But that's part of it too. And my book is focusing on English language acquisition and the stories of teachers who, honestly, I haven't met one teacher that I've interviewed yet who feels qualified to teach students who don't speak English. So what does that say? I mean, it says a lot, right? There are so many things that we can tease out from that. But what do we do? Because then we're not educating our kiddos. We're not giving them what we need. We're not giving them the access. So there are different things that I want to do to affect policy. I want to be able to affect curriculum. I write curriculum, and I actually have been writing curriculum that is with an equity focus for several different companies. So I've been able to do that. And I want to keep on doing that as we move forward.
I love it. And you will, because we need it. It's not enough of it. And you have a different lens than some other publishers or writers because of just who you are as a woman of color and your experience and everything. So I look forward to the future. I look forward to having you on here once your book is published and you're ready to share that great work.
Thank you.
With the people here at the Gifted Table. So yeah, I'm super excited. But I also just want to thank you for your time and for sharing all your gifts. You put some gems on the table today, madam.
Thank you so much.
And I know you caused some people to start thinking about, I think she's talking to me. Either someone said amen or they said ouch.
And that's the Brooklyn in me. That doesn't know it's going to happen. But I do appreciate you giving me this time and this space to share some of my thinking. This was a lovely, lovely visit. And I thank you. And I hope that this does cause some people at least to think that that's the goal, right?
Absolutely. And they will. And they will. And thank you to all of you for watching this episode of The Gifted Table. What are your thoughts about why the middle grades matter? Tell us your thoughts. I would love to read those comments and get back to you. But as always, until next time, remember, stay grounded, innovative, fierce, transparent every day. In other words, stay gifted. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.